Kia ora, warm Pacific greetings. How are you this morning, man? I am super excited this morning. As you can see, we are makariri here in the studio this morning, but I am super excited because today we have a very special guest who's going to make me very nervous this morning, and it's definitely going to be the wake-up call I need this morning. Introducing our very special guest, Tauiliili, who was an experienced radio host. He has worked for Radio Samoa, PMN. He's a producer, music specialist, an entrepreneur, and a researcher for Sounds of Moana podcast. I'm super excited to have the one, the only, Tauiliili here in studio. Good morning, Ta'alofa lava, ma lole soifua. How are you this beautiful morning?
Ma lor sei fua pia whafta ia tu le nā hoi upu matangofi o mai e whatalo whatu loa. Good morning.
Good morning.
Somebody forgot to tell us that it is definitely makariri, because or else I would have just come a little bit more puffier. My face is ready, but not the rest of me. But yeah, good morning.
Good morning. But how have you been? I see you've got a different transport there than usual. Talk us a little bit about that, because every morning
Alpha is a good, example for society.
I know.
He bikes everywhere. It's something we should all do.
So I did off camera question the cost of or how much he saved with this new. I think it should be a trend, definitely.
Yeah, look, and by the way, if anybody's listening, I get my bikes from a Samoan brother in Otara. He does it for free for charity. So you just go donate and pick a bike, whatever's available.
What?
So it's called SSS. And that's where I get my bike. So my one is a recycled Mormon bike.
Oh.
And the reason why I pick it, because the Mormons buy good bikes.
Yeah, they do.
Thank you to the missionary who have gone back to where he came from, because it got me a bike. But yeah, look, the trend is because I'm trying to get healthy, just so is everyone else. Typical food became my kryptonite, and I want to be around for my kids. And it's funny because I always tell my kids, don't eat too much, and I'm like, wait a minute, I'm not even following my own advice.
Yeah.
So my daughter helped me up on it, and yeah, we've been going on 2-3 years since we've been cycling around wherever we can.
Yeah.
And yeah, nothing like a morning ride.
Yeah, I love that, and you know what? It's nice to see, because I don't mean to sound sad or anything, but it's not a common thing for our Pasifika. I mean, apart from the missionaries to bike around as a form of transport. But I loved that. I walked up and I was like, is Martin up to something with this new bike trend? Because I was a little bit worried, but it's good to see that you are jumping on the health buzz, because I think a lot of us will be jumping on that soon.
Long way to go. Long way to go, but hey, we got to ride it in.
Love it. Hana, how have you been this morning?
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for tuning into our show this morning. And as usual, we're not going to bump off schedule. We're going to start off with our quotes of the day. So we're so happy to have Tauiliili here on the show to join us. And Tauiliili, what is your quote of the day to help people get through?
Now, I know that it's morning, but I'm just going to give this quote out because it might be afternoon somewhere else, in case it's a bit too harsh to start the morning off. But if you're catching it in Russia, it could be an afternoon about now. This is something I've got up on my wall, and something I've learned to grow into and appreciate. It basically says, show me your friends and I'll tell you your future.
Damn.
So it's probably about me. It's a reminder of the circle and environment that I need to be in to be able to be the best dad, the best husband, the best father, the best value to anybody and everybody. So, and if it finds a place in whomever's listening, your listeners this morning, then hey, hope it helps you too.
Yeah.
Show me.
And I think that it takes someone a realization, a wake-up call to understand and look around, holy crap, this is my environment.
Yeah.
And the only person you can look at it's me. I decided to surround myself with these people. So it's really important, I guess.
Yeah, it is important. I think we discussed it a few weeks ago as well, where yesterday actually was that quote was or similar. your tribe or your vibe attracts your tribe. So it's something similar to that type of energy as well. So, but it's true. We need to be intentional as well with our surroundings. I find myself a little bit carried away with some of the people I hang out with, but never mind. I'm sure fellas watching going, Tauiliili, select your friends properly there. But you know what? It's all about that wake-up call. So, and I love that. I love that quote. My quote this morning is, it's all about energy. Stop using your energy to worry, because I am a worrywart and I worry about everything. And I know that even the drive down to Wellington, I was still on edge, just worried that I wasn't going to be the best driver to take myself and my family down to Wellington. So stop worrying. So stop using your energy to worry. Use your energy to believe, create, love, grow, glow, and manifest. That's my quote this morning.
No, what a lovely quote.
So what are you doing to make the quote come to life?
Well,
Are you still hanging around the same people?
I am. As of today, my new best friend is Tauiliili, and you can expect to see us riding around on our bikes around Manukau.
I like
new
it. I
missionary.
like that quote.
Yeah.
Good.
That's a really good quote. And this one is, not as probably energetic and positive, but it's an eye-opener, like Tauiliili's one. Situations are small, but the principle holds all the weight. So I like this one because, every day we go through different situations and you get concerned. Is this person treating me this way? But when you look at the bigger picture, it's the principle that matters, not the situation. So it's helpful, I guess, when making decisions in life, deciding where people belong as to what his quote that said earlier, you're a product of your environment, and who you surround yourself with says a lot about you. Yeah. So that's my eye-opening quote this morning.
What a fresh morning.
Yeah, what a good morning. If you have any quotes that you would like to share, comment below, and we will definitely talk and discuss those quotes. But we hope you're having a great start to the morning. I think it's time. We've been discussing a little bit off camera the awesome work that Tauiliili has been doing. He's an expert in this, and we're going to go into a quick break. Let's get into the feels this morning. Our next jam is It Is Well. So stay tuned. We'll be back to talk a little bit about the man himself, Tauiliili.
Welcome back to the morning show. We hope you enjoyed that morning hymn to help you get on with your day. A nice, peaceful morning song to make sure you get safe to work. No car crashes, no heavy metal or anything like that. But thank you so much, Tauiliili. So for those of you who don't know, Tauiliili is on such an important mission to bring back the sounds of the Moana. And we're not talking about siren jams. We're not talking about, your DJ noise remixes, nifoloa or fee joint. We're talking
Which
about...
they're all great, by the way.
They're all great. They're all great. I'm just making sure that this...
You guys don't like us?
Yeah.
No, I'm just saying.
There'll be someone like, sounds of the Moana. Josh 685. Yeah, they're all great, by the way. But we're talking about the sounds of our ancestors from the Moana. As many of you may know, as the Pacific Islands, and the sounds that they used pre-colonization. So he's bringing back this lost wealth of history and knowledge back to life for the generations to come. What a huge mission! First of all, but I wanted to do two things before we get into this. First of all, I wanted to go around the table and ask briefly, what role does music play in your life? So we'll start with you, Pea. What role does music play in your life?
Music is definitely, for me, it helps calm my soul. That's my go-to. When I find myself in a really, really sticky situation, music is the only type of sound that speaks to me, and I know that I feel that it's telling me that I'm going to be okay. For some reason, only music can get me out of a really, really difficult rut. But that's what it does for me. It's kind of like my safe zone or go-to, definitely, yeah. That's what music does for me.
That's awesome. And I think a lot of people can relate to that too. I, for myself, can relate to that heavily. What about you, Tauiliili?
So on the word music itself, I don't listen to music, I listen to sounds. Right? Because music is a Palangi categorization of sounds. And before they came and following along with our songs, they said, oh, that's happy music. We had sounds. And so for me, the sounds, the reason why music or sounds is important to me is because it either affirms or remind me of where I'm at, or either go left or right.
Right.
Because it's a spiritual matter. Sound evokes a lot of the spiritual thinking that we do go through. So in its form of music, it helps. If you're looking to feel a bit bitter, you can play your happy music. Right. If you want to go to sleep, you can play white noise, which is also considered music in some places. Yeah. So it has its place in terms of the overall part of my wellness. Yeah.
No, I feel I share a lot of the feelings that you guys share about music as well. But can I tell you an experience that I had about 4 years ago? I realized that music has such a huge effect on my soul. I listened to hip hop. Yeah. But I was a kid then. I was going to uni, I was thinking, cool. And then I realized how much music actually affects my character and who I was growing into. Yeah. So now I rarely listen to music. Yeah. And if I do listen to a song, it's specific and it's repetitive. But now it's mostly instrumentals, because if I listen to a song with words, it influences my mind. And then not for the better, it couldn't be for the better. Yeah. So I'm very careful with what I listen to nowadays. And I think it's very important, especially with the kind of music that's coming out nowadays. There's a lot of messages that are quite questionable, but we'll get into that. But before we get into asking Tauiliili some awesome questions, I wanted to share with our viewers the different historical context of sound. And let's go around the world. Yeah. So feel free to chime in if you want to on this one. Yeah. So like in China, in ancient China, music was only used as a matter of higher learning. So it wasn't used for entertainment. They didn't believe it was used for entertainment. So after the Chinese emperors, they won a war. That's the only time they would play music, was for celebration and to bring societies together for political reasons. And if we move over to Germany, Beethoven, a well-known classical music person, he says, Music is the mediator between the spiritual and the sensual life. He also says, music is a higher revelation than all wisdom and philosophy. Music is the electrical soil in which the spirit lives, thinks, and invents. And ancient Greeks, go to Greece, they believed that music travels with air into the body via the ears as gates to the soul. Then the body processes the sound, which will be transmitted through the blood. So they actually believe it has a physical effect on the body. So that's what they believed in ancient Greece. And we'll go to India from an Indian what's it called? Indian professor of musicology, singer. He says, music should be healing. It should uplift the soul. It should inspire. And there's no better way of getting closer to God, of rising higher towards the spirit, of attaining spiritual perfection than music. And even in the Bible, King Saul, from a biblical sense, King Saul used to call on David when he was stressed. And he'd be like, play for me. And then his harp, he'd be playing his harp. And then King Saul would just, okay, I'm calm now. But eventually he got jealous of David. But that's how important sound was to a lot of, ancient civilizations who we have a wealth of history and knowledge from. So we can see across a variety of cultures that we're picking up some common themes here, that music has a direct relationship with soul and with spirituality and with our minds. And this is why I feel like what you're doing is so important, because
it's an indigenous thing, right?
Yeah.
Before you look at it in terms of the mainstream of what music is today, strip away all the westernization that even in our culture. And if you look at just Samoa alone, because we share a lot of the same synergy with other Pacific Islands or other tangata Moana, sounds is part of our existence. Right? Now, even in Samoa today, there are particular portions of our population who did not fully adhere to the ideology of Christianity. I say ideology of Christianity because Christianity is a concept. That's why we still have a very small population of Samoa who still adhere to Le Tapua Ingatanga Loa, right? Because that was our deities prior to the arrival. And in those, some of the most important things in there, whaleonga, sounds, right? There are certain sounds in Samoa that if you do it, it rains. But because we're so far removed from our identity, we look at it, devil.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right? Why? Because the Palangi told us those things were devilish. Now, you have to look at it in this context, just like a vehicle. I always explain culture like a car and its wheels. The culture is the body of the car, but the rituals and essence of the vehicle are the wheels. And every now and then you have to tweak those things so that the culture can continue, yeah? It's going to run on rims.
Right.
And when culture's stuck, it dies. And so the way we look at our culture is we totally abandon a lot of the stuff that gave us our identity. One of them is sounds. How important is sounds in Samoan? What's the most famous thing in the story about Taimama Tilofainga when they brought the tatau? What does it say? They put it in what?
And song.
And put it in a song.
Yeah.
So sounds to us had a purpose. To the Asians, the Chinese, for instance, it was a celebratory only for a particular moment. Samoans use sounds to heal, to open a space, to chase away a temoni, or we didn't call it temoni back then. We just called it oleanganga. And you have to look at our culture. It was spiritual. Everyone existed in a Samoan context, the living and the dead. That was our original concept as people before Christianity. Concept of Christianity came into cover. So, sounds, it is very. We share the same as Tonga, Fiji, the Greeks. They're right. So, Te Porotiti in Maori is a concept whereby they put a string with a metal piece over a child's chest.
Right.
They sing it and stretch it, and it brings out the phlegm.
Wow. And I find the Maori really interesting because they created an instrument for each occasion.
Yeah.
Like when a mother was going to give birth or she was in the process of giving birth, they'd create a flute So each instrument had a purpose, which I found really interesting.
And they kept on to a lot of that knowledge because they were last to settle and they still had the majority of
Right.
their traditions with them. Remember, they settled 2,000 years after Samoa was long settled in Tonga and Fiji. So that was part of their blessing, right? But coming back to the point, I segue way too far there. But music and sounds, of course, it's a particle, it's a wave. Just like how when a car or somebody goes past, you feel it. And when you smell someone, you either feel like, oh man, I like that cologne, or oh my
Right.
Lord, no kaele.
Ah,
It evokes.
Yep.
So exactly what they say about sound, which is what they put it into forms of music.
right. And if you were to visually describe how important this journey is, or the work that you're doing, what would that look like with generations to come?
First of all, I have to say this: takes a village to raise a child, right? So my part in this was as the co-producer and the host, and also bringing together knowledge holders. So I cannot claim everything by myself. You know, I used, thankfully, le whetalainga ia leunga. Ata Sofara, Matai Samoa, comes from the Nonumaro Sofala clan. They're known for storytellers. His older sister is Vini from the Punialava. That family itself are known to be kaitiaki or guardians of the Samoan language. So as many other families. You have the Ausasulu Ape and Ausatulu Wenga when it comes to Tatau. So various different factions. I work with Hufanga Heakomoilotu, Dr. Mahina from Tonga. He is a anthropologist, a musicologist, and a lecturer of Tongan culture altogether. And then, so there's a whole bunch of elders that came together and some of our young ethnomusicologists like Rita Semontafa to put this together. So my part in it all was coming in and just sort of work together. It's a village, right? And also we likened it to a va'a before it sails. Long time ago, before the Papalangis came, before we sailed, it is said that to build a va'a, it needed everyone. So it needed the kava, it needed a priest, if and they were the ones who fili le la out. That's why Samoan always use fili se tautai, fili se la au. So everything had its place, and there was always one guy whose job was to fili the la au, the other one to bless it. Our journey was the same. And when we sailed, we never sailed in one va'a. We always sailed in twos. So that's why we sailed in a group together. The importance of what we did is we're looking at it from 100 years from today.
Right.
We left our home Hawaiikis. My Hawaiki is Samoa, Niue, and the Tongans, and wherever. And now this is home. There is now 2 generations of Pacific Islanders born and raised here. So this is home. Where my home was Samoa, their home is New Zealand. Now from here, they're going to move to the world. And as we've seen throughout history, the one thing that always survive is our poetry, our arts, our dance. And for some reason, they keep our language and cultures together. We may keep like a portion of it, whatever's left over that hasn't been destroyed, but nevertheless, they kept it. So the whole idea was this: 100 years from today, and let's say our grandchildren will end up in Russia, they'll be in Ukraine. What are they going to have with them to remind them of where they came from? It will always be the same things that you and I grew up in New Zealand having: songs, dance, food.
Yeah.
Food. Food. But all of those artistic expression of a love for something. Because poetry is an expression. Dance is the performance to the sound. I'm quoting Dr. Mahina. Performance to the sound that was influenced by poetry. So that's part of the reason why we got together, looking at it from 100-year lens.
Right.
All right, let's do this so that when we're gone, at least the kids will have something to. Because I'll never know where my great-great-great-grandchildren will end up. Right?
Exactly.
So that was the starting point of how we got into it.
That's amazing.
I know. I'm just thinking, like, because you're talking about the sound, but I think for me, I mean, and I do apologize because for me, I my knowledge of music is very, very limited, and you just described sound as opposed to music, and I actually just didn't, for me, it was just one thing. Music sounds the same thing, but now that I've been listening, like how far back have you? Because I know that you've had to, you needed to go back to research, the last instruments or the last sounds of, like, how hard was that research? And I mean, everyone has obviously
It
gone
was
and
hard.
passed, but
It was hard and easy. But look, first and foremost, I'd like to thank Sounds, Centre for New Zealand Music, because it's a Palangi organization, started in '91 just for classical music and opera.
Right.
So it's always been a white sound
Yeah.
until they've had a change of heart and included us. So, and some people say, "Well, it's a Palangi organization." Like, hey, we have to start somewhere,
yeah,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
Congratulate them for giving us the platform to be able to tell our stories, and then we use that muftanga to now slowly bring out our own things that were hidden for so long. The hard part of it all is because I aim to decolonize a lot of the stories. Unfortunately, I have to keep looking for a recording that was recorded by a white guy.
yeah,
Right? Richard Moyles was a well-known ethnomusicologist who recorded a lot of traditional sounds. There's a library now at the University of Auckland where the whole ethnomusicology department, a lot of it he gave over to the university, and there are old recordings of Samoan songs. Tonga, I mean, you name an island, he recorded them all. So we had to try and find some recordings, some songs that were towards what we're trying to create. We had to look for Wilhelm Solf. If you know Samoa history, he was the German chancellor that was the ruler for Samoa at one point when Samoa was still called German Samoa.
yeah,
So some of the recordings during his time that was 1910.
yeah.
We couldn't find anything way past that time. And if there are recordings, it's held by the Germans in Berlin or the Brits, and they wouldn't give
Yes.
us the right.
That's so
Right.
true.
So then we've got all of these amazing recordings, and then we thought, okay, what do we want to know? And then, of course, we have to consider everyone. And when I say everyone, we have to consider the Tonga story. It was hard. That was the hard part, to make sure that we told something for now that would make our ancestors and our cousins from the other islands happy, knowing that this is just the beginning. But if God ever blesses us with another opportunity, we'll start adding the other islands,
Yeah.
like Niue, like Tuvalu, like Kiribati,
Yeah.
So that was the hard part. The easy part of it all is we want our stories to be told, and everyone was quite happy to. We just have to fizzle out the ones that weren't tainted by colonization. All right, like when I said to Samoa, "Oh, what's a Samoa traditional?"
Yeah.
They're like, "See, that's the sailor with that." I'm like,
Yeah.
"That's not even traditional Samoa."
Well, that's what I was going to ask. Have you identified exactly? Because I'm thinking, isn't it just a guitar or something? But
It's not even ours.
yeah. So have you identified what our traditional sound?
You have to look at our research beyond music, because I know most of us are only thinking music. What's a music instrument?
Yeah.
We were going after sound.
Yeah.
Now, to simplify it to everyone that's listening, you have to try and define music. Right? No one can define music because music is music. And then the Tongan professor that we were working with, he said, when Tongans meddled with sound, music was born. We're like, it's the greatest definition ever.
Yeah.
Music was born when human played around with sound.
Yeah.
But sound is the thing that naturally comes with you and I living,
Yeah.
talking.
Yeah.
Right? Remember that girl, Catch Me If You Can?
Yeah.
You know how that was something she said and
Yeah.
somebody
And it
put
just-
it in a
yeah,
music
yeah.
and it became a song.
Yeah.
That's what music is.
Yeah.
So when we were trying to define it, we had to look for some more traditional instrument. We don't have much history of it.
Yeah.
The only thing we have that everyone tells us, you should try this one, is the fala. I'm like, how boring.
Yeah.
If you roll up the fala, I'm like, I know, I grew up in Samoa. So we had to look at sound instruments beyond music. And the only thing that no one else have a history of is the 4/4, right? Which is that Samoan has a song. "Ilima ile 4/4 ile." So that's the big shout that you.
Oh yes, yeah. Yeah.
Did you just ask me what a 4/4 is? There?
I did. I was just like.
Right. So we had to look at the 4/4.
Yeah.
And then the only other thing that Samoa once had, but lost it a long time ago, is the nose flute.
We had a nose flute.
Girl, there are certain Samoan sayings as "Pea ole tangi le pumate." And when they say Biolatangi Pumate, they reference it as something sad. Oh, the sound of sadness. Pumate means it's the sound of death. Samoa also had the fangu, but it is said it left Samoa before the Europeans arrived. So the question is, where did it go?
Yeah.
Right? Then you have to step back and look at the entire Moana. We lost the fangu, but it was kept by Tonga and the Cook Islands and Hawaii. They call it vivokoe because it's from the ofe.
Yeah.
And vi'okoe in Hawaii because it's the ofe of Samoa, right? But they lost the tatau, we kept it. We all lost the drums, Cook Islands kept it. We are now at the age where we're starting to bring it back to each other. Samoa just finished reviving the tātātau wa Tonga. We're helping revive the tātātau wa Hawaii, Marquesa, Tahiti. Now it's time for us to learn from them how to use the fangu that originally was ours.
Such a beautiful
I
collective
know.
effort.
It is, but it's going to take a long time because right now there are no Samoans fangu players.
Yeah.
We lost the knowledge so long ago, we don't know where it went. Right?
See, I was always of the belief that we were more of a vocal. We used our voices for sound when making music, but I never knew we had wind instruments.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the nose flute, it's a mouth flute, the entire world. But when it came to the Moana, it became a nose flute.
one, yeah.
Oh man, this is I honestly a nose flute like.
Yeah. And the belief is that the nose is cleaner because the mouth is capable of lies, of speaking bad.
Wow.
And when you're looking at the nose, it's the breath like Maoli, breath of the Wairua, right?
Wow.
You know, Samoa, just to make fun of Maoli, hongi.
Yeah.
But Samoa also is the origin of songi. That's why we said Tawhea songi. But that too left. Because you have to understand, according to our own myth, you know, the Samoan mythology and some of these other publications that are coming up, we're like the place where most of the navigation began.
Yeah.
And so you wonder, when they left, what did they take with them? Well, look, by the time the missionaries got to Samoa, we no longer had those big statues like you see in the Cook Island and Maori, right? It is said that when they left, that was part of what they put on the va'a to take with them to always remember where they came from. Because when the missionaries got to Samoa, all we had were statues this small.
Yeah.
It was, you know, that's why they have a saying, "E tō whole whanua ma le tapua whanua." So each family and each had their own little deity that they would pray to.
Yeah.
You know, so that's how far I don't know whether we lost it or whether you have to look at it from a positive way or whether we gift it out until a time such as now so that we can then have some back. It depends on how you look at it, but we had the nose flute.
The nose flute.
It's in our language. So I always tell people, if you want to find whether there are an equity or there's an ownership of your culture and something, you have to look in your language.
Yeah.
So Samoa, like we said, because the sound of the nose flute is very sad and somber.
Yeah.
Right? The Tongans call it fangu because they said it's used to put the royals to sleep and also to wake them up. I think that's why when we wake, you know how you're saying about music, you have to be careful what you let into your ear.
Yeah.
That's why you wake up angry sometimes. If you wake up and there's Tupac,
Yeah, exactly.
right? You just you don't even have a gun.
Yeah.
And you're like, I just feel like.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
It's the feeling.
So
Yeah.
the Tongans believe.
We need to bring that nose flute back.
And remember, when you hear such a nice sound, your thoughts.
Yeah.
And if you're a
Yeah.
royal, you think on behalf of your clan.
Yeah.
You know, having a nice little next to your ears, like, I feel great today.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And
so-
especially, making big decisions,
Yeah.
you need to be in a clear mindset.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's
environment
environment.
and worrying
Yeah.
and choose your friends. And when I
Yeah.
say choose your friends, remember, friends are not just people. What are things that are your friends? It's the environment you're in.
and the things you spend the most time with.
There you go.
What a
So
morning.
that's music and sound.
Sound,
And because nowadays most of our youth, we only know music.
Yeah.
But we always say strip it back to its original. Remember, music is a categorization of sounds.
Yeah.
But before you, and that's what happens in Samoa today. If there is something to be told in a village, you hear what they call the manul sala. You hear someone walking the whole village yelling, not yelling, but calling.
Yeah.
Tomorrow everyone's expected to be at the village. Sounds. That guy's not singing a song. He's verbalizing because that's how we text.
Yeah, yeah.
Hurry up and tell the whole village of 4,000 people that there's a meeting tomorrow.
Similar to Ryan's experience with the bell throughout the villages, calling, Lewakalisa, and it's that sound, that one sound that everyone is familiar with, that it's time for prayers.
Before that, it was the 4-4.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Before that, it was the lali. Lali is the bigger version of the pate, right?
Yeah.
So it's important for programs like yours to help decolonize a lot of the things that we have, so that people have options when they think. Because at the moment, we only think for Papalang.
Yeah.
We're forgetting the fact that we come from a culture that is, it's the beninging of everything.
Yeah. It's very rich.
I'm. If you know how to play the nose flute, please comment below, because I'll be interested to find out, or whether you are familiar with the story about your grandparents, or great grandparents, or just anything, if to connect back. Because I'm like, what, the nose flute?
Yeah.
Listen to the podcast. Yeah, that's how you
I
find
know.
out.
Yes.
Yeah, the podcast is awesome. You guys have to check out the podcast, Sounds of Music. It's on Spotify. So you can Google it as well. We'll put the link on this video. But I just wanted to ask one question. Besides from the wealth of knowledge you've already, shared with us,
That I was lucky to be in an environment to be shared.
Right.
Yeah.
And we're lucky that you're sharing it with us.
But that's how it goes, right?
Yeah. What do you have a favorite thing, like fact, that you learned in this journey? Aside from what you've already told us, or have you already shared that with us?
I wouldn't, and look, I'm sort of a weird person. By the way, it's Sounds of the Moana, not Sound of Music, because
It sounds
right?
And it sounds with a Z, so SOUNZ.
No, sorry. Sounds is the organization.
Oh, okay.
But the podcast is the original Sounds of the Moana.
Sound
Sound
of
of
Moana.
Moana.
Original Sound
So
of
you'll
Moana.
find that on Spotify.
Oh,
And,
awesome.
They were favorites of mine because I learned and discovered. For instance, I learned through the podcast that there used to be a singing that Tongans used to have that no longer existed. And we have on record a missionary by the name of William Warren who wrote in his diary that the Tongans don't know how to sing, they sing flat. But it's because they were trying to expect choral, Aufai Bese, when the Tongans had their own traditional way of singing. And so he wrote down in his book that it's going to be up to us to get rid of it. They succeeded. If you were to play that back to the Tongans, they don't know it's theirs. So it's a favorite, but it's a sad moment. It's a favorite of mine because we discovered that we have always been right? A lot of the Papalangis deleted part of us just to fit what they think we should have. And by doing so, they killed a part of our culture. So that's a favorite for mine. Another favorite for my, but there's so many in it. Another favorite for
Sorry,
me.
can we rewind? What do you mean by their voices made the sound of quarrel?
So Karo Aufai Pese.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Now remember, Aufai Pese is what they call 4/4. It's a timing of music. That's why fa leo. Alto, malu, da. That's not our singing. That's choral music brought by the Christians. When Samoans say, yo, the pese nga kusit ko ingo. A lot of the Aufai Pese singing that we have in that Tusi Pese, they weren't written by Samoans. They were translated by Samoans. Let's get that right.
Right.
But these were rhythms and fakis that came from the Kusi, the Church of England, or wherever it is that they came from. So, because Samoans don't have whaingaleo.
Yeah.
We have the sound of nature. Remember, if you reflect the sound of what's around us, now imagine Samoan 654. What surrounded us? Nature. So can you imagine a whaingaleo back then? No. Why? It's not surrounding us. Whaingaleo was only brought in when the Papalangis and the missionaries introduced these choral singing.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes more sense.
And now we are the best at singing choirs.
Yeah.
Better than any other island. If you want to hear the old of old singing, you would listen to the way Tokelau and a lot of the Cook Islands singing. It's from here. Right?
Yeah.
Samoan sing now is 4 parts. Oh.
Yeah.
So in the manner of us accepting these new concepts of ideology, unfortunately, it killed some of the best part of us. So I want my children to receive as much of what was before in 100 years from today in some way in a capsule. And the sound of the sounds of the Moana is one of those little time capsules. It's not all of it in there. This is why we're working on more, if sounds will allow me to do so. But it's the beginning. Because our sounds is beautiful. They have, Tongans have this singing called Afu Whakawhahaikehe. And you will hear it, it's a monotone, it never rises. Sorry, I'm not speaking Tongan, but I'm just singing. In case of Tongan, it's like, man.
I was like, can you sing in Tongan too?
That's a monotone they sing. And it's funny because every time a Palangi try to teach them a song, they would sing it in their own way.
Right.
And that's when the Palangi guys said, these guys are tone deaf. But in reality, it's like you speaking English and me translating it into Samoan how I hear it. So they went about deleting the sound that is now gone. Now that makes you wonder, if that's what they did to Tongan traditional singing, how much of Samoa has gone?
Probably a lot.
Maybe a lot, right?
Probably a lot.
Yeah.
And it's a struggle because I was talking to a lot of people, but they were saying, but you're trying to take Samoa back to its dark days. I'm like, no, because, Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior. But I have to know where I came from.
Yeah.
Right? And so now you're telling me that's where my entire foundation came from?
Exactly.
So what did my ancestors sounded like? Because this cannot be it.
Yeah.
And so that's sort of where it began. I mean, it's simple, but it's also complicated in trying to put it together. But my intentions were clear. I want my kids and everyone else's kids in the future to hear at least a little bit of home.
Yeah.
Because like I said, 100 years from today, we might even not be in this planet.
Yeah.
And the only thing they'll take with them to wherever Elon Musk or USA is going to take us is the things that they can't transport, is the recordings of our sounds and our actions.
And identity is so important.
It is.
Thank you so much for sharing that wealth of knowledge with us. We're just going to go into a quick a music break. Enjoy this song that is coming up. And we hope you enjoyed that sound. But we'll be right back.
It happened last night, about 10 to 11, when I first laid eyes on you. We're standing in line into Club 777. It was just like heaven and a dream come true. We're standing in the right place at the right time. When you, this Ehu girl, caused a crime. You're my little Ehu girl who made me a fool in love. You got my tongue in the world, and now it needs cooling off. You set my heart on fire, and now I don't know what to do. You set my heart on fire, and now I'm so in love with you, my Ehu girl. Feeling it now, something I've never felt. My heart's so hot, I think I'm gonna melt. Somehow, I wanna see you again, my love. Sent from above, yeah. And beautiful girls, yes, I've seen a few. And out of all the beauty in the world, there's no one quite like you. 'Cause you're my little Ehu girl who made me a fool in love. You got my tongue in the world, and now it needs cooling off. You set my heart on fire, and now I don't know what to do. You set my heart on fire, and now I'm so in love with you, my Ehu girl. time, but I don't know your name, and I guess I'll call you my pretty little ehu girl. With me, I'm fooling love. You got my heart all in the world, and now it's cooling off. You set my heart on fire, and now I don't know what to do. You set my heart on fire. Now I'm so in love with you, my ehu girl. Yeah, my ehu girl. My ehu girl.
Guys, that was Ehu Girl, and I absolutely love that jam. I think for music and the sound, we've spoken, all morning about it, and I honestly blown away with the wealth of knowledge that now. I mean, I'm just like low key laughing at myself because there's parts of Samoa that I didn't really bother to kind of, learn anything. But today I've definitely learned that it is very, very important to strip back and go back. Because now, I do want to know. I mean, before I was like, I love 5-star, the sound of 5-star to, get ahead. But, you're right. It's so important to have a capsule for our kids because mum and dad, they didn't have the tools and resources to do what you're doing. So whawhitai lava, Tauiliili, for all of your hard work. But let's talk a little bit about where our viewers can, tune into your podcast. But before that, let's talk about the top award that you guys have received, because I hear that you guys went up against the big guns like CNN and also Lord of the Rings. Can you tell us a little bit about that award and how did that come about? And that's amazing because, we all know that anything to do with Pasifika or our people, we're very limited with how we can get all of that out to the world. So to have this to win this top award,
This award is like the Oscars of podcasting. So if you think of Oscars, it's a prestigious award.
Yeah, so the New York Radio Award is considered the Oscars of podcasting, and podcasting could be what we're doing now, could be just audio podcasting, or any kind of presentation of any form that requires pure sound, right? So, and then like I keep saying, thank you to Sounds Centre for New Zealand Music, Toitiara Puoro, because they were the ones that produced all of this. They were the ones that went and saw some funding and gave us a space really to tell our story. And it also shows the coming of age for Aotearoa, opening up to consider the indigenous people of Aotearoa down to Whenua, and also us, the indigenous peoples of the Moana, the Aotearoa's home. So they were the ones that put up and we didn't even know that they were awards. So when they first contacted me, hey, let's do the podcast, I'm like, cool. These are some of the people we work on. And we just did it for that. Because they came up with a sound strategy for the Moana to look at how sound can engage more of our composers and creators. So that was the idea, and so the podcast was like a fruit of that relationship and me coming on board. So we just came together and script and write, and a lady by the name of Sophiana Wilson, she's Maoli Samoan, helped me teach me the game of podcasting, how to do it together. After we did all that recording, did the story, and we all left. Right, because we got together to complete the goodbye, and then Sounds entered it into the Great New York Radio Award.
Wow! So Sounds did it.
Yeah, because they're the ones who pretty much sought the funding and brought me on board to do it, and so they and we looked at the category and we're like, we're not going to get anywhere because this particular award, and it's known to have. Organizations like BBC, and if you understand BBC in terms of radios, there's quite a few, BBC 1, 2, 3, BBC Extra. These are well-known radio stations who produce podcast. CNN. So the Lord of the Rings one is because there was also a reading of the entire Lord of the Rings book.
Right.
Yep.
So that's who we were up against. And these budgets are, I'm telling you,
Yep.
Yeah.
you know, thousands of dollars. Because people compete for this award. Because if you win it, well, you can go on to be known as a gold medalist producer of. So when they first told us we entered, we're like, cool, yeah, make the numbers. you know, they said,
Yeah, yeah.
right? That's what we had in mind.
Runners up.
Right, and then we look at the category of who we're up against. Impossible for us to win. And then we were told we got shortlisted. I thought, man, I bet they tell that to all the girls.
Yeah.
You got shortlisted. Yeah, I bet you say that.
Yeah.
And then April 26th, we got told that we won gold.
Yep.
I thought, man, this got to be a joke. Because we looked at our category. And if you get a chance, go and look up New York Radio Awards. It's impossible from the stories that we told and who we were up against. But in the music category, we took up the gold medal.
Yeah.
Like not the silver, the gold medal. And so, this is a competition that can access any form of recorded history of anything. But it's because they've never heard our history being recorded. And, big up to the sound engineers and everyone else involved. They've never heard these versions of our stories. They probably couldn't even find it in a reference book.
Yeah.
Right.
Because it came from knowledge holders. The stories that were pushed down to make room for the written word. I thought we were like, what do you do when you never expected to win anything?
You know what? After listening to the podcast, though, I think you guys were so deserving because this is a huge thing. It's not just like you're influenced by something. You're actually opening a gateway into what could potentially happen for the future. So you guys are super well deserving. So don't say you guys didn't deserve it or downplay it. But you guys definitely deserved it.
Oh, you didn't.
Because it was the craziest thing. Like I said, we didn't expect it. Like, first of all, we didn't even know there was an award. Because after we recorded the thing, I was like, thank you.
Yeah.
And then, so we kind of look at each other because we just won an award.
Yeah. Not just award. Gold.
And what happened after that is Sounds then allowed myself to come on board and continue the work.
Yeah.
So I'm now working on setting up a platform so that composers from the Pacific can register their works and use the platform of Sounds to get a market for their creations. And we're not talking about just modern music. We're talking composers of traditional music. Could be traditional Tonga, Fiji.
Oh my gosh, I need to talk to you after this.
Yeah. You can notate it so that like an orchestra can play it. Right? So that's the whole point. We've already got radio stations for young music, but how about our classical Samoans or Tongan or Fijian songs? If you notate that and put it up for an orchestra to play, that's new sounds that they've never heard of.
And you can make that happen? Or that's what you're currently working on?
That's what we're working on now, using the platform of Sounds to help further the reach of our composers.
That's so great.
So, that's why...
And do the people who want to come through that pathway have to be musically, do they need to have a degree in music?
No. This is for all composers. Remember, composers, anyone.
Yeah.
Anyone who, writes and records music or...
Oh, that's so beautiful, Alpha. You haven't gone down that Western education, Yeah.
And for you as a composer or anybody listening, remember composition there are lots of us who know music that we've never been taught, but we know music, right? You're a composer because you've written things, you've come up with a faki and you want to, that's what it's all about. So.
So
there's so much that you're sitting here listening, and there's so much I don't know about the music or that part of our people, and I'm excited. I'm really excited, and I'm actually really excited that you won this award, because I know that you're the type of person that will help others gain access to another industry and world that we're just sitting here going, well, can we? Because I can't be honest. There's a lot of gatekeepers,
Yeah,
but I
you're
know,
okay. You'll be all right.
but I know that you are going to do some amazing work, especially with this award that you've won as well. But where can our viewers tune in to your podcast?
So at the moment, you can find it on Spotify. You can find it on Apple.
Yeah.
All of the streaming platforms that are available, if you type in Sounds of the Moana, there are 2 podcasts.
Yeah.
One of them is called Sounds of the Navigators. It means the sounds of those who came here from our islands. What did they bring with them?
Yeah.
And the second one is called The Origin of Sounds, which is looking at our musical instruments, right? And in it, we covered musical instruments from Samoa, Tonga, and also the Cook Islands. Now, we didn't pick it for a reason. It's because they were the only matua that were available to speak to us. The hope is, now that we've succeeded with the award, we'd like to do another one where it covers other Moana, because we are the richest, I would say, nearly said landmass, but we're the richest block of nations in the world. We live in the biggest ocean, but yet there are over 50 islands with over 1,000 languages. Can you imagine how many stories untold left behind all of that? Dialects, cultures. We haven't even tapped into the Papua New Guinea or Solomon or Vanuatu, right? And Fiji in itself. So it's a ongoing lifetime commitment, and one day my ceiling will be reached. I might not be the one to take it to the next level. There'll be a smarter person that's being born right now who's going to come and take the baton and move it on. And the award, I was only a part of a greater team. And that's the thing we wanted to emphasize. Our people always work together. Palangi is always, I did it. We? Don't mistake. We did it. Right. So and that's where you can find it. Spotify, iTunes, and Sounds of the Moana. Have a listen.
We'll also link it to this video so you can get direct links to those. But thank you so much, Tauiliili, for your time, for coming in today and for sharing this wealth of knowledge with our viewers and with our Blue TV team. It's been amazing to have you on.
Thank you.
Honestly, like I mentioned all the time, when I see you, I know, no, you did not pay me, but thank you very much. It's always an absolute honor to have the Alpha Sound bless our studio this morning. So this morning, if you know, it's the sound.
Look, I want to finish with this. This is something that guides my life, and if you're listening, this is hopefully something that. So. Lemalu Tatasimi, the late Lemalu Tatasimi, wrote a poem that became the guidance and everything I do in terms of my culture. You probably heard of this before. If not, the poem is called Identity. All right? It says, educate yourself enough so you may understand the ways of other people, but not too much that you may lose your understanding of your own. It also says, try things Palangi, not so you may become a Palangi, but so you may see the value of things Samoan. Learn to speak Samoan, not so you may sound Samoan, but so you may feel the essence of being Samoan. Above all, be aware and proud of what you are, so you may spare yourself the agony of those who are asking, what am I? This Sounds of the Moana is my journey to remind everyone of their identity. So, thank you very much for having me. And God bless the program, and hope to speak to you ladies again.
Thank you so much.
What a wonderful morning.
What a wonderful way to end it.
Yeah, what a wonderful way to end our morning this morning. That's it from us here. We're just going to go into a quick break. No, we are going to, I got that wrong. That's it. We are wrapping up the show. We're going home. It's been a long morning, I think, but that's it from us. We hope all of the information and the story that, everything that we've shared, today on our breakfast show, we hope you've enjoyed. Thank you once again to Tauiliili. Hana, did you have any final words to share? That's it. That's us. God bless. Have a wonderful morning, and we will see you again on Wednesday. So fast before.
You set my heart on fire, and now I don't know what to do. You set my heart on